Oh, looks like Segovia was here.
Eh? You have to feel all that. Exactly. Let the sound.
At the master classes in Santiago de Compostela, Segovia and the students seem to have covered an enormous section of the repertory. And as producer of his recordings for many years, I recorded many of these pieces. And I think early on when he performed Bach and the Chaconne, that it was criticized by certain musicologists and the public. Why play this on the guitar? That it was not a piece for the guitar.
It was not, of course, and Segovia entered the Sancta Sanctorum of the musicians, and but he did it with love, and he took that instrument and made it sound like its real home was the guitar. I think there has been a cultural revolution in the performance of Bach's music, and the freedom and the love with which Segovia played it are no longer the most important thing, unfortunately.
Ghilia? It is not necessary to play it. It is a little too quick. The pianist play it quicker, but it's not correct because it is a Spanish thing. Yeah. It's like a little tonadilla from the 18th century. Then if you it's sufficient. Sound in the hall. The other no. The three will not sound.
Yeah.
You know, in a concert hall.
Yes.
It's very hard.
How does it feel watching yourself after all these years?
I wish I could go right back into it. It's like seeing your hometown, you know. After you've been away for a long time, you see everything, you hear everything, you recognize the sounds, you recognize the ideas. And the things I was doing there were so immature.
Was the experience of just listening to him demonstrate and being exposed to how he grappled with the instrument and the music
All of that.
as important as whatever he might have said to you technically? Or
sometimes even more important,
Yeah.
because the words, you know, fly. And the things we see, I used to watch his hands, his motion, his movements, the way he would reach the strings, the way he would get things. All of this in a contemplative manner, without critical eye. And I would absorb from that because I was ready to do so. I was there, and it was my time to learn. And it was his time to teach. At the time, I was seeing these passages as technical feats, like I had to get through those things, and I was worried when it came. And what he taught me to do was something that developed many years later, was to just love them. See what I mean?
Beautiful.
It's a conversation. You're talking, you're telling a story, and the story is beautiful. It has nothing to do with technical feats. For me, it was whether I loved it or not. And when the music is loved, it lives.
It does. It's beautiful.
But of course, not all the lessons were a matter of love.
No te va a picar. ¿Por qué suprimir eso? Para que todo... ¿Qué manía tenéis? Yo no soy amigo de los portamentos, pero hay algunos que son absolutamente esenciales para la guitarra.
Why suppress that? I am not friend of portamentos, but this should be done because in the guitar might sound better than in any other instrument. Let us see what there is contrary to aesthetics. It is like the voice when a note is prolonged or runs through a thread. Are you going to suppress the voice that has the note? Let us say, like this.
Y eso es menos fastidioso que esto. ¿Comprende? Porque estás en la misma cuerda y no te varía la posición de la mano derecha. Ahora sí. ¿No puedes recogerte un poquito más el puño para adentro? Is a little more animato. Do you know, it's very difficult for me to explain that in English, but the nuances and the rhythm is the result of the lack of respect that we have for the rhythm.
Oh, I don't understand.
Do you know? Very difficult. Will you please tell her that the nuances in the rhythm comes from the delicate lack of respect that we may have for the rhythm. But in this lack of respect, you may define the good artist and the bad artist.
Is what he's saying is saying that in order to be faithful to the nuances, to the beauties of rhythm, you have to sometimes disrespect rhythm itself.
The strict rhythm.
Right.
Yes.
Get the spirit rather than the word.
And there's no one who could bend the phrase with more logic than he could,
Right.
really.
I think that what he did was very important. He did that through the use of the instrument, the guitar. He found that the guitar had its best way of speaking in that way. Didn't have. If he were a violinist or another instrumentalist or a conductor, he wouldn't have.
Might have done it differently.
Might have done it quite differently. Because the guitar does not have the sound that lasts all over. The violin can mold the sound and have it grow in time as he wants, but the guitar goes down. So you have to impress the idea of the sound before it dies and make it last in the memories. It's a matter of art, really, to work so that the elements of the composition will come at the right time in the proper order of importance, not of time.
My cradle was Linares, one of the wealthiest Andalusian villages, if not the prettiest and more picturesque. Everything is quiet, poetic, and deep. The streets are narrow and winding. The houses are built close together, like old women who help each other to support the weight of centuries. I was born in the house number 74 of Corredera Street. Next to it, as a preordination of my destiny, there was a guitar shop.
Segovia told me that he learned to play the guitar because, first of all, he had a weird childhood, and his parents virtually gave him away. They felt apparently that they couldn't give him an upbringing, and he had an uncle and aunt that took him in. But he was 4 years old, so he was conscious of the fact that he had been sort of abandoned. His uncle he liked very much, and his uncle sheltered him and made him feel comfortable. And he told me that his uncle at one time held him in his arms and sang a song to him that involved strumming a guitar. He didn't have a guitar, but he'd go like the guitar. And that seemed to mean something to Segovia. And it planted an interest, and a short while after that, he saw a man in the street playing a guitar, probably flamenco. I don't know what that was. But that started an obsession that lasted 90 years, because if he was 4, and he lived to be 94, so he had a 90-year obsession with the guitar. And he was discouraged at first, because his family said if he was interested in music, that he should be seriously interested in something like the violin, which didn't appeal to him at all. The guitar was his obsession. And so he had to sort of do in secret what he wanted to do, and there was a local instrument maker that allowed him to pay for a guitar out of his allowance over a long period of time, and then he had to kind of hide what he was doing, and it was at a neighbor's that he'd go to practice.
I came into existence in Linares. In Granada, I opened my eyes to the beauty of nature and art. Many civilizations, the Moorish above all, left in Granada magnificent testimonies of their former sway. I lived at that time with my grandmother, and from the window of my bedroom, I could see the profile of the Alhambra. On hot nights in the spring, I would spend hours there in quiet contemplation. The beauty of those monuments are forever enhanced by the natural splendor of the surrounding countryside.